As the second wife, my guiding principle in conduct had always been to mind my own business and turn a blind eye to matters that didn't concern me. However, on the night of the full moon in the first lunar month, when I was the only one left in the residence, the young master was dragged back to the mansion by his ear. In the end, I could no longer suppress my fury. I beat the madam who had led people here to cause trouble until her teeth littered the ground, and I forced her son to kneel and kowtow in apology. I thought I had truly stirred up major trouble this time, so I voluntarily went to kneel in the ancestral hall to await my punishment. Who would have guessed that when my husband returned to the residence, the look in his eyes as he gazed at me was filled with tender affection? Does Madam's hand not hurt? The marriage between me and Xiao Li had never been a simple one. My father was at a critical juncture for promotion, while my younger brother had broken the leg of a powerful official's son. My mother and grandmother discussed the matter and learned that the Xiao family was selecting a second wife for Xiao Li. He had just completed the 3-year mourning period, so they wanted to see if I could catch the Xiao family's eye. Xiao Li was a dragon and phoenix among men, heading the Privy Council. Among the old ministers at court, he was a rare young face. Under normal circumstances, whether for flattery or alliance through marriage, a minor fifth-rank official's family like ours would never have the chance. Yet, by some twist of fate, it happened. That day was old Madame Xiao's birthday banquet. A group of noble ladies were bickering and fighting over Xiao Li out of jealousy. No one knew who pushed whom, or who bumped into whom. In the scuffle, a maid from the Xiao family was pushed into the water. I had merely been watching the commotion from the side. Confident in my swimming skills, I jumped in to save the maid's life. Unexpectedly, this caught Xiao Li's attention. Since he had decided he must marry a second wife, he might as well marry the one who had saved his maid. With just one sentence from Xiao Li, the matter was settled. My status rose accordingly with the tide. Without needing to pull any strings, thanks solely to the Xiao family's connections, my father successfully received his promotion. My brother's lawsuit was resolved with mere compensation, and I was smoothly married off to Xiao Li. In truth, I knew why Xiao Li had chosen me. Xiao Li was 27 this year, yet he already had a 9-year-old son. The Xiao family's young master, Xiao Feng, was notorious throughout the capital for being difficult to discipline. Relying on his grandmother and his aunt from the imperial clan, he was mischievous, stubborn, and exceptionally clever. Every time Xiao Li tried to use strict methods on him, Xiao Feng would burst into tears and say things like, "As expected, mother is gone. No one cares for me anymore." Those sorrowful words would immediately soften Xiao Li's heart, leaving him with no desire to discipline the boy further. Among the women at the time, Xiao Li had chosen me simply because he valued my kind-hearted nature. I didn't compete or scheme, and could treat his legitimate son well. Therefore, after marrying into the family, I always remembered my position. I tried my best to act virtuous and gentle, hoping only to secure a peaceful and stable life. Thus, I set a strict rule for myself: stay out of matters that didn't concern me. Loving the young master was for his grandmother to do. Disciplining the young master was for my husband to handle. By not interfering, that was the greatest kindness I could offer. Under this rule, my life passed peacefully for 2 years. During those 2 years, Xiao Li was polite and courteous toward me. On scheduled nights, he would come to my chambers to fulfill his duties as a husband. Honestly, I was already quite satisfied with this. But while the person involved wasn't worried, the onlookers were frantic. Nanny Zhang, who had served me since childhood, had just returned from a trip to the Wen residence. Somehow, she had obtained a prescription for seeking a child. At this moment, she was sitting under the eaves grinding medicine for me, muttering to herself as she worked. I draped a cotton robe over myself and lounged in the courtyard basking in the sun, gently shaking my head. Nanny Zhang, stop wasting your energy. It's useless. How could it be useless? I heard this prescription was personally bestowed by Taoist Master Wang and is extremely effective. Many young madams in the capital conceived after just one dose. I was rendered speechless, and could only tilt my head to look at the sky. Not to mention Taoist Master Wang. Even if the Jade Emperor himself came, it would be futile. Before the young heir grows up, Xiao Li won't let me get pregnant. Nanny Zhang stared at me wide-eyed, then looked around in panic. Young miss, what nonsense are you saying? Which head of the household doesn't hope for heirs to continue the family line? Especially for a prestigious family like the Xiaos. You must have misunderstood, young miss. I was too lazy to argue. No one understood the situation in Xiao Li's bedchamber better than I did. There were times when I could clearly feel his strong desire, yet he would force himself to hold back. Xiao Li had no concubines and kept himself pure outside as well. Besides protecting young Master Xiao, I truly couldn't think of any other reason. After all, I was quite beautiful. Back in my maiden days, I had been renowned for my looks, and after becoming a wife, I had gained even more charm and grace. Haha, I was just indulging in self-admiration when the gatekeeper maid rushed in frantically to report, "Madam, something terrible has happened. Madam Zhang from the Ruyang Prince's mansion has stormed the gates." I startled and quickly sat up. What for? The maid replied that our young master had beaten young Master Zhang, so Madam Zhang had come demanding an explanation. Where is Xiao Feng? He was caught red-handed by Madam Zhang in the front courtyard. I immediately stood up and headed outside. Has the old madam been informed yet? Today is the 15th. The old madam was taken out of the city by the eldest miss to offer incense. What about the master? The master went with them as well. My heart sank. That meddlesome eldest sister-in-law. If you were going to offer incense, fine, but you took every person who could handle matters in the household with you. What are we waiting for? Call the strong maids and servants to follow me, quickly to the front courtyard. I hurriedly gave the order without stopping my steps. Madame Jiang must have received news that the old madam and eldest miss were both out of the capital and seized the opportunity to come teach Xiao Feng a lesson, I thought to myself. By the time I hurriedly arrived at the front courtyard, the place was already in complete chaos. I saw Xiao Feng being firmly held by the shoulders by a maid from the Zhang family. He struggled with all his might, but his small frame was weak, so he could only turn his head and curse loudly. Just you wait. When my grandmother returns, she'll make sure your entire family loses face. Then he looked at Madame Jiang, whose clothes were soiled and hair disheveled. She was so angry she was leaning against her maid, trembling as she pointed at the two maids. Pin him down for me. Young Master Zhang hid behind his mother, fanning the flames. Beat him to death. Beat him to death. The maids and servants of the Xiao family surrounded them, but with no one in charge, and wary of the Zhang family's status, they only dared offer gentle persuasion. Madam Zhang, please let our young master go. It is all our young master's fault. When the old madam returns, we will definitely come to your door to apologize. Hearing this, Xiao Feng struggled even more fiercely. Not wrong. Why should I apologize? If you have the guts, kill me today. Madam Zhang laughed coldly. Listen, just listen. This is the result of a child with no mother to teach him. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I could no longer stay silent. Stop. I called out twice, but no one listened. So I picked up a stone from the corner of the wall and hurled it straight at the water jar. Crash. The sound of shattering and water gushing out finally silenced the noisy commotion. Everyone looked at me in shock, and I slowly smiled. Madam Zhang has come uninvited. It seems our Xiao residence has not entertained you properly. Madam Zhang lifted her wet skirts and snorted coldly. No need for entertainment. Today, I came specifically to teach your child a lesson on your behalf. My smile remained unchanged. Then, on behalf of the Xiao family, I thank Madam Zhang. Madam doesn't know this, but usually Xiao Feng is mischievous and causes trouble. He is also very disrespectful to me. The stunned expression on Madam Jiang's face gradually turned to contempt. She is probably sighing that a stepmother is indeed a stepmother. Xiao Feng, still being held tightly, was stunned for a moment and glared at me viciously. Wen Ting, with father and grandmother not here, your foxtail has finally shown itself. You colluded with outsiders to beat the legitimate eldest son of the Xiao family. When my father returns, I will definitely ask him to divorce you. Shut your mouth. I turned and glared at Xiao Feng. Perhaps my gaze was too fierce and my demeanor too unfamiliar, causing him to freeze. Taking advantage of that, I signaled the people beside me with my eyes. Why aren't you quickly bringing ropes to tie Xiao Feng up for me? My actions were beyond everyone's expectations. I successfully took Xiao Feng from the Zhang family's maid. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Turning back, the smile on my face had vanished as I looked at Madame Zhang. Madame Zhang, can you now clearly explain how exactly you intend to discipline the young master of our Xiao family? Of course, make him kowtow and apologize to my son. Oh. I nodded and asked. Then may I ask what Xiao Feng did to make Madame Zhang so angry that you feel he deserves such punishment? Madame Zhang pulled young Master Zhang out from behind her. Son, you tell her. Young Master Zhang stammered, he hit me. My eye is bruised, and my chin and shoulder are injured too. Last time he even shot a slingshot at my private parts. He also climbed a tree and threw eggs at my head, and during horse riding and archery practice, he deliberately picked me as his opponent. He clearly knew I couldn't beat him. Say that again. You still have the face to complain. Believe it or not, I'll knock all your teeth out. Xiao Feng wanted to charge forward upon hearing this. I immediately pulled him back and ordered the maids to hold him firmly. I asked young Master Zhang, everything has a cause. May I ask why Xiao Feng bullied you? Young Master Zhang avoided the question and refused to answer. Madame Zhang said, what else could it be? Because Xiao Feng has no family education and likes to bully others. Today, I must give him a good beating to teach your Xiao family's child a lesson on your behalf. Wait, I raised my hand. Even the upright officials listened to both sides. I have already sent people to invite the tutor from the academy and a few familiar students as witnesses. There will surely be people to testify. Madame Zhang panicked. Does this matter need witnesses? Look at how badly my son was beaten. Isn't it as clear as day? I laughed coldly. Madame Zhang, some matters cannot be judged by appearances alone. It is better for us to investigate thoroughly. Madame Zhang wanted to rush forward to snatch the boy, only to realize that Xiao Feng was now tightly surrounded by my people, making it difficult for her to act. Madame Zhang's expression turned cold. Wenting, it seems I have underestimated you. I didn't respond. Ordinarily, I was as timid as a mouse, mainly because Ao Li was always on guard against me, Xiao Feng didn't respect me, and the old madam didn't trust me. I never took the initiative to approach. To outsiders, I was merely a stepmother who minded her own business. She probably thought I wouldn't necessarily protect Xiao Feng. But how could she know that if I let her bully Xiao Feng right in front of me today, I might as well not live in the Xiao residence anymore. The only thing left for me would be to wait to be divorced. The tutor arrived quickly with 2 students. I first asked the tutor if he knew about the fight between the 2 children. The tutor hemmed and hawed without clarity. I then asked the 2 children why Xiao Feng had hit someone. The 2 looked at each other, their faces flushing red, not daring to speak. I warned them. You probably know where Xiao Feng's father serves as an official. If you don't tell the truth today, I will have his father throw you into the yamen for a few days. One of them stammered. It's because little fatty Zhang badmouthed Xiao Feng every day, so Xiao Feng hit him. Yes, yes. The other agreed. I asked Xiao Feng again. What did he say about you? Xiao Feng raised his neck and said nothing, his fists clenched tightly, his eyes red from holding back anger. I spoke again. If you don't say anything, this matter will become a miscarriage of justice. No one will be able to help you then. Rather than waiting for your father and grandmother, it's better to seek justice for yourself. Xiao Feng looked at me. His lips moved for a long time before he finally spoke the childish words he hadn't said in a long time. Hot tears fell from his eyes. Little fatty Zhang said, I am a child who was born by a mother but has no mother to teach me. He also said I am a bastard, that my mother seduced my father and that's why I was born. As soon as he finished, I looked toward Madame Zhang. Seductive. These words couldn't have been thought up by children themselves. They must have heard the adults in the family badmouthing. Madame Zhang was known for her sharp tongue. The Zhang and Xiao families belonged to opposing factions. Otherwise, she wouldn't have taken advantage of the absence of the household heads to come slap the Xiao family's face like this. Now, being stared at by me, she didn't panic at all. So what if I said it? Everyone in the capital knows about this. Slap. Before Madame Zhang could finish speaking, I slapped her across the face. No, look at who is the one born by a mother but with no mother to teach them. Madame Zhang glared. You. The deceased deserve the utmost respect. Is this how Madame Zhang teaches her son to humiliate the dead? Stop flattering yourself. Call him son, and see if he acknowledges you. Before Madame Zhang could finish, I slapped her again. What does that have to do with you? As long as my name remains in the Xiao family genealogy for one day, I am his mother for that day. I will manage his affairs for that day. You dare hit me. You are nothing but the daughter of a declining 5th rank official, yet you dare hit me. Yes, I hit you. Not only will I hit you, I also want your son to kowtow and apologize to Xiao Feng. Madame Zhang wanted to retort, but my people had long taken control of the situation. 2 held 1, leaving her without even anyone to send for help. It was also because she had been too careless, thinking that with no one in charge at the Xiao residence, she could do whatever she wanted. Little did she know that Wenting would teach her how to behave today. Xiao Feng, apologize. I won't badmouth you anymore. Little fatty Zhang knelt down and kowtowed in apology to Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng held his head high and snorted. I patted his head. You have to say it's okay. If a dog bites you once and you go bite the dog back, that's not right. You must learn to be magnanimous. Xiao Feng learned quickly. Fine then. Consider it as being bitten by a dog. I forgive you. Madame Zhang was grinding her teeth so hard they nearly shattered. I directly ordered people to escort the guests out. Xiao Feng's eyes sparkled brightly, as if he hadn't expected things to end this way. Remember, either don't make a move, or if you do, beat the opponent until their teeth litter the ground, so they won't dare trouble you again in the future. Anything else? Xiao Feng asked. I looked up at the sky, my heart filled with melancholy clouds. Also, if your father wants to divorce his wife, you must stand on my side. After seeing the guests off, Tutor Chen from the academy was about to leave as well. I stepped forward to block his path. Tutor Chen, we pay tuition to the academy and entrust our children to you all so they can be bullied in the academy. Tutor Chen broke out in a cold sweat, wiping his forehead repeatedly. Madam Xiao, this is a conflict between students. We couldn't know about it. If you didn't know, then how did Madame Jiang know? Madame Jiang can enter and exit the academy freely and force the Xiao family's child to run home to face the consequences. Does that mean anyone can enter and exit the academy at will and cause harm to our Xiao family children? Madame Xiao, this will absolutely not happen again. Can the tutor guarantee it? After all, you couldn't even clearly explain what happened between the students. I didn't care if he was timid and afraid of trouble, or simply didn't want more complications. Since he had taken on this job, he had to bear the corresponding responsibility. Allowing students to bully our Xiao Feng with words. Do you all think the young master of our Xiao family is a motherless child? The adults in our family are busy with 1,000 affairs and find it inconvenient to quibble over these small matters with you. But I am just a woman. If such things happen again, don't blame this stepmother for stepping in to manage these trivial affairs. Old Tutor Chen, you can keep that explanation and go explain it to our old madam. With that, I turned and left, ignoring the tutor's face, which was twisted like he was constipated behind me. Xiao Feng's gaze toward me became even more moist. That night, calculating that Xiao Li would return to the residence, I went to the small ancestral hall myself. At the same time, I sent someone to the rear courtyard with a message saying that I had caused major trouble and would kneel in the ancestral hall until the end of time. As the sky grew darker and darker with no one coming to relay any message, my heart became more and more uneasy. Could it be that grandmother and my husband have already discussed divorcing me? This time the trouble I caused was truly no small matter. It was originally just a conflict between children. Madame Jiang storming the gates was her fault, but I not only hid her and drove her out but also made little fatty Jiang kowtow to Xiao Feng. If the Jiang family's ancestors pursued the matter, even Xiaoli would be in a difficult position. I waited and waited. The moon had already climbed to the windowsill, yet no one had come. I sent someone to inquire and only then learned that the old madam and Xiaoli had returned early. I felt both heartbroken and disappointed, secretly complaining in my heart. Xiao Feng is also a heartless little brat. Perhaps as soon as the matter was over, he ran off somewhere to play and completely forgot about me. My stomach was growling with hunger after skipping dinner, yet I dozed off. Just as I was dreaming of roasted chicken, grilled goose, and braised pork, my arm was suddenly shaken vigorously. Madam, the old madam and the master have arrived. I immediately jumped up from the prayer cushion. As soon as I knelt properly, a group of people stormed in aggressively. Leading them was the old madam, whose voice arrived before she did. Oh my good daughter-in-law, quickly help her up. With that, the two maids beside her stepped forward to pull me up. I remained kneeling and refused to stand. Mother, I am voluntarily confessing my fault. Little Ting has done wrong and is begging the ancestors of the Xiao family for forgiveness. I have already asked clearly about the matter. It was all the fault of that foolish Jiang woman. You did very well. There was not a single thing wrong. I cried while secretly glancing at Xiao Li, who was walking in. I saw him lean against the pillar by the door as soon as he entered the room. His entire body was relaxed, and his face showed neither joy nor anger, nor any panic or worry. He looked like an outsider watching a lively drama unfold. For a moment I couldn't guess his intentions. Was he praising me for doing well or blaming me for meddling too much? Therefore, I simply continued kneeling without getting up. Mother, just let me kneel. The Zhang family is powerful. I have brought great trouble to my husband and deserve punishment. At this moment, thumping sounds came from outside. Xiao Feng, holding a punishment ruler, knelt and inched forward into the ancestral hall step by step. Grandmother, father, I dare to act, and I dare to take responsibility. I was the one who hit Madame Zhang, and I was the one who bullied little fatty Zhang. Let me take little Ting's place. Just as I was feeling touched, thinking that my moment of tenderness toward the child wasn't in vain, Xiao Li spoke up from where he stood with his arms crossed. Didn't I tell you to kneel for 3 full watches? Who allowed you to come here? Xiao Feng feared neither heaven nor earth, only fearing when Xiao Li got angry. Father, I knelt and inched my way here the entire time. I have been kneeling the whole way and never stood up. If you don't believe me, ask the servant beside me. Xiao Li snorted but said nothing more. Father, little Ting was protecting me. Please forgive her. The old madam chimed in as well. My child, say something. If you don't speak, little Ting won't stand up. Feng, mother, you two just let me kneel. As long as you don't divorce me, I can endure any hardship. Xiao Li let out a laugh. Stand up. Then he added indifferently. I didn't know if he really meant for me to stand, so I was a beat slow. Xiao Li's deep voice rang out again. Are you still not standing up? I suddenly felt like I was riding a tiger and couldn't get down. At that moment, I looked at him, unsure what to do. Xiao Li turned his head and ordered, Mother and Feng, go back first. No one dared disobey Xiao Li's words, especially when he spoke with a stern face on official business. As soon as he finished speaking, the room fell silent for a moment. Then the old madam and Xiao Feng slowly withdrew. The surroundings gradually quieted, and Xiao Li's presence became even more pronounced. I knelt as if sitting on pins and needles. I secretly lifted my eyelids to peek at him and was caught in the act. Everyone has left. Are you still not standing up? In my heart I thought I should stand up. If I don't go with the flow now, I'm afraid I'll really have to kneel all night. Unexpectedly, just as I lowered my head and prepared to lift my skirts to stand, Xiao Li suddenly stepped closer. His right hand pulled up my arm while his left arm circled under my armpit, wrapping around my waist and lifting me up. In the next instant, my legs were lifted, and before I could cry out, I was already being carried horizontally in his arms. In my line of sight, Xiao Li's handsome profile enlarged. His high, straight nose, sharp cheekbones, and wheat-colored skin that seemed to carry a faint glow. A healthy flush beneath his tan. Then, my own face gradually turned red. Put me down. Although we had been married for 2 years and had done more intimate things, being carried like this, feeling his firm chest and solid abdomen, I became so nervous that my face flushed crimson. In my heart, a vague, unprecedented sense of excitement arose. Hearing my words, Xiao Li only glanced at me sideways. I see your legs aren't numb. Without waiting for my reply, he strode outside. At the door, his servant and my maid followed silently from a distance. The faint moonlight clearly illuminated our 2 shadows as we passed through the flower garden. The servant sweeping saw us and avoided us from afar early on. This time, I was truly embarrassed and could only curl up in Xiao Li's arms, shrinking like a shrimp. A soft chuckle from Xiao Li reached my ear. I angrily tightened my nails and pinched the soft flesh behind his ear. Let him experience what it's like to be laughed at too. Xiao Li carried me all the way out to the courtyard like that. I jumped down from his arms and ran straight into the room. He followed leisurely, washed his hands clean, then leaned against my dressing table and asked, Does your leg not hurt anymore? I lowered my head to look at my leg. It had only been a pretense anyway. What was there to hurt? Embarrassed, I lifted my head. Husband doesn't blame me for causing trouble. Xiao Li turned around and poured himself a cup of water to drink. Madame Zhang acted tyrannically only because she has her husband's family backing her. I have already ordered someone to draft a memorial overnight listing 18 crimes of the Zhang family. It will be presented to His Majesty at first light tomorrow. Although the Zhang family is powerful, they are strong on the outside but empty within, not worth worrying about. Besides, our Xiao family is not so easily bullied. When Xiao Li said these words, his tone was very calm, yet it carried immense pressure. I almost immediately felt that the Zhang family was about to face misfortune. Thinking about it, Madame Jiang was tyrannical because her husband gave her courage. Wasn't I the same? Xiao Li sighed softly and spoke about Xiao Feng. Perhaps I have overlooked Feng's feelings. I only wanted him to become outstanding, thinking I had fulfilled my responsibilities as a father. But in the end, I still cannot replace his mother. I nodded gently. Indeed. The proverb says it well, there is a stepmother, there is a stepfather. Fortunately, I am not the vicious kind of stepmother, and this father doesn't let me do whatever I want. His grandmother has indulged him excessively for a long time, which has probably caused him to develop self-doubt in his heart. When facing matters, he lacks firmness. I nodded again. If it were me, either I wouldn't hit at all, or if I did hit, I would definitely make sure little fatty Zhang couldn't open his mouth again. Xiao Li was still reminiscing, while I was so sleepy I could barely keep my eyes open. I remembered when he was little, in the middle of the night Xiao Feng would often run to my bed, saying he was scared and wanted to sleep together. I didn't know when that had stopped. I thought he had grown up, not realizing he had only hidden his weakness deep inside. Now, aside from studies, father and son had almost nothing to talk about. In truth, I had vaguely guessed that he might have been suffering some grievances, but I thought he could handle it himself. Now it seemed, Xiao Li's gaze shifted toward me. My heart thumped. I always feel like something bad is about to happen. Sure enough, the next sentence he said was, Wen Ting, if I entrust Feng to you, would you be willing to raise and teach him? I am still a child myself. Haha, what are you saying? We are all one family. Of course I will take good care of the young master, not the way I do now, but as if he were my own child. Discipline when he needs disciplining, punish when he needs punishing. Oh heavens, I screamed inwardly. Isn't it said that being a stepmother is the hardest thing? Isn't this trying to force me to death? My face showed clear embarrassment. Xiao Li saw it, but his eyes became even more resolute. Every month, I will give you an additional 500 taels from my private account. Additionally, if you have any requests, you can tell me. My eyes lit up immediately. How much? 500 taels a month, 6,000 a year. In 2 years I could. The corners of my eyes gradually curved up. I tried hard to suppress the joy bubbling within me and decided to accept this troublesome burden. After all, who would make things difficult for money? Then I will give it a try. But if I can't manage it well, or if the young master rebels, or if any idle gossip spreads outside, husband must stand on my side. Agreed. Hearing this word, I became completely happy. Is husband not busy tonight? Do you want to return to the study or have dinner here with me for now? Not busy. Today you suffered grievances. I will stay with you a while longer. Xiao Li's scorching gaze made my eyes feel a bit dazzled. In 2 years of marriage, he rarely looked at me like this, and rarely stayed in the room at this hour. After eating and washing up, Xiao Li's intentions were very clear. He carried me horizontally, placed me on the bed. The maids walking outside all quietly retreated. Before the moonlight could even hang high in the night sky, Xiao Li's kiss descended like a storm. One long, tender session left both sides soft-hearted. Xiao Li pressed down on me and refused to get up. His breath blew down, pressing heavily on my stomach. Gradually, I began to feel I couldn't take it anymore. I gently pushed him, but he didn't budge. You're too heavy. I pushed him with force. Unexpectedly, as he tilted to the side, he smoothly wrapped his arm around my waist and flipped me on top of him, turning it so I was pressing down on him. I don't mind you being heavy. I stared wide-eyed at Xiao Li, who had closed his eyes to rest. I looked incredulously at his thin lips. I really don't know how those 4 words could come out of his mouth. After looking for a while, I noticed the corners of his mouth curving up, revealing a wicked smile. I reached out and pinched hard at the thin flesh on his waist. He dodged slightly, his face not reddening and his heart not racing. Ticklish. Feeling a certain part of him beginning to stir again, I hurriedly rolled off and ran straight to the bathing room by myself. Again? If this causes a death, it won't be fun at all. When I came out, Xiao Li had already bathed in the back room and even changed the bedsheets to new ones. As soon as I got on the bed, Xiao Li pulled the blanket to cover more than half of me and naturally draped his arm over my waist. Sleep? It's too hot. I tossed and turned. Xiao Li then said, if you keep moving like that, I might have to do it one more time. That scared me into immediately stopping all movement. Even so, the next morning I still woke up late. When I opened my eyes, the sky was already bright. I grumbled to the maid, wondering why she hadn't woken me little earlier. The maid smiled and replied, it was the master who wouldn't allow it. At the same time, the old madam had sent word through someone else. There's no need for her to come pay her respects. Who would have thought this would turn out to be a blessing in disguise? I wouldn't dare make a fuss over it. I rose, tidied myself up quickly, ate a simple breakfast, and then made my way to the old madam's courtyard. The old madam was playing cards with a few maids when she saw me arrive. She immediately asked me to help look at her hand. You came at just the right time. Feng doesn't want to go to the academy. Go and talk some sense into him. The old madam then turned to the maid beside her. Fetch my heirloom jade bracelet. When the bracelet was brought over, the old madam took my hand and slipped it onto my wrist herself. This color really suits you young ones better. It's yours now. Ah. This jade bracelet was of the finest quality. Even if it wasn't worth a fortune, it could easily be traded for several shops. I broke into a delighted smile at once. Thank you, mother. What's there thank between family? Hurry along now. Yes, I answered cheerfully, thinking to myself that there was truly no task in the world that couldn't be done. Only leaders who didn't know how to coax their people properly. Under the light, the jade bracelet shimmered with a deep, beautiful green. In the garden, Xiaofeng was busy fighting crickets. I couldn't resist walking over to show off. Look what grandmother gave me. Isn't it pretty? Xiaofeng snorted in disdain. Humph. Seeing that expression that had clearly never seen much of the world, I lowered my hand and tucked away my smile. Don't forget, I saved your life yesterday. Xiaofeng was still young, his face flushed red and he couldn't hide it. Every emotion was written plainly across his features. I mean, I have a jade royal scepter in my room that's even prettier than your bracelet. If you want it, just say the word. It seemed that once someone struck gold, there was no stopping their good fortune. Why don't you want to go to the academy? Xiaofeng shook his head. I just don't want to? All right, back to that impenetrable wall again, keeping everyone at arm's length. I tried talking to him. Are you afraid the other students will laugh at you? No. Afraid the tutor will treat you poorly? Not that either. Oh, come on, stop guessing. If I don't want to go, I don't want to go. I started to get a headache. This child had quite a few issues, but thinking of the 500 taels a month plus the bracelet on my wrist, I figured I could at least give it a try. Then would you like to go riding outside the city? Can I? Joy immediately flashed in his eyes. Of course you can. I'm in charge of you now. A smile spread across Xiaofeng's face. That afternoon, when the sunlight was just right, I took Xiaofeng to the estate outside the city. Once we passed through the city gates, we mounted our own horses. Along the way, Xiaofeng and I raced each other on horseback, having the time of our lives. He told me that normally he could only ride a dozen laps around the training field at most, and had never taken a proper long ride before. I told him I could not only lead him on the road but also stay at the estate for a few days. Xiaofeng grew even happier. When we reached the estate, the steward was preparing for the spring plowing. I showed Xiaofeng all kinds of farming tools, explained which soil suited which crops, when to sow seeds and when to apply fertilizer. The lessons learned in the fields were no less valuable than those in books. Xiaofeng gradually let down his guard and threw himself into the simple village life before him. That evening I took him up onto the old tiled roof to gaze at the star-filled sky. It felt indescribably refreshing. Since marrying into the family, I could hardly remember the last time I had breathed so freely. Going outside had been the right decision. Relaxing for Xiaofeng was one thing, but it was the same for me. Deep in my bones, I had always loved the freedom of open skies and open land. I told him stories from my childhood, climbing trees to poke at birds' nests, hunting wild rabbits. Those carefree days left Xiaofeng full of admiration. You've actually hunted rabbits? Of course. Tomorrow we'll head up the mountain and try our luck. If there are wild rabbits, I'll teach you how. It was settled. I also helped Xiaofeng build a small earthen stove shaped like a cute cat with two pointed ears. Inside we could roast sweet potatoes, chicken fish, or sparrows. The flavor was hard to describe, but every day was filled with pure joy. I even fashioned a fishing net and took Xiaofeng down to the river to catch fish. Xiaofeng asked me in astonishment, "How do you know so many things?" I answered, "Because when I was little I didn't go to the academy like you. I had plenty of time to run around and play outdoors, so naturally I picked up all sorts of skills." Why didn't you go to the academy? Your parents must have loved you very much. I really envy you. My smile faltered for a moment. I actually envy you for getting to attend the academy. What's there to envy about the academy? Because when I was young, I wanted to go but couldn't. Why? Because I'm a girl. Back then, my parents and grandmother poured all their love and expectations onto my older brother. Xiaofeng had no older brother, so he couldn't quite understand. Then do you hate them? No. Because what they could give me was already the very best they were capable of. A person only lives once. Spending time resenting the family you were born into is far less useful than learning more so you can become stronger. I smiled and gently patted his head. Xiaofeng, the same goes for you. Stop dwelling on sadness and melancholy. Make yourself stronger instead. I also told Xiaofeng that parents could only walk a portion of the road with their children. The long stretch afterward had to be traveled alone. No one could shield you from the wind and rain forever. Can't father shield you from the wind and rain? A fierce light flashed in Xiaofeng's eyes. Unfortunately, I was too caught up in sharing and teaching at that moment to notice. Of course not. I am me, and your father is your father. We are all independent individuals. Even without your father, I could live very well on my own. The words had barely left my lips when I felt a chill run down my spine. At the same time, Xiaofeng gave a strange little smile and looked up behind me. Father, did you hear that? Wen Ting, you don't need father at all. I spun around in panic and sure enough, there stood Xiao Li. We hadn't seen each other for several days, and he was right behind me, his gaze so cold it felt like it could shatter glass. I forced a stiff smile at the corners of my mouth, turned back mechanically, and ground my teeth. Xiaofeng, you stay right there. He stayed put, but Xiao Li gave me no chance to chase after him. My life was over. I asked Xiao Li why he had come all the way out here. Xiao Li shot me a sideways glance. My wife and son were having so much fun they forgot the way home. Since my wife isn't reliable, of course I had to come check on you. I smiled awkwardly. Husband. Those words were just advice for his studies. They weren't meant literally. Xiao Li said. But they sounded more like your true feelings to me. I didn't know what to say. If you saw straight into my heart, wouldn't you go mad? It was already very late. Turning back to the city now would be impossible. That night Xiao Li stayed and slept with me. The bedding in the countryside wasn't as sturdy as in the residence and had gone years without repair. The small wooden bed creaked and swayed all night long, so much that even I, the one experiencing it, felt my face burn with embarrassment. I strongly suspected Xiao Li had chased us out of the city because he had held back for too long. The next day, Xiao Li rarely had time off. The two of us slept until we woke naturally, and by the time we got up it was nearly noon. Xiaofeng had roasted a whole table full of chicken, duck, fish, and meat to entertain his father. Xiao Li politely tasted a little of each dish. The three of us looked like a harmonious, happy family. That afternoon, Xiao Li said he wanted to take me somewhere. On the northwest slope of South Mountain, halfway up the ridge, a white tombstone came into view. The words, "Beloved wife of the Xiao family, Lady Jia," caught my eye. Xiao Li used his bare hands to pull out all the weeds around the tombstone. Without being told, Xiaofeng knelt before the stone and cried until he was choking on sobs. Mother, Feng has come to visit you. The broken sound of his weeping made the quiet mountain forest seem to grow even more sorrowful. Mother, rest easy. Little aunt has been very good to me. Xiaofeng's words made my gaze linger on his small back. I had to admit I had never dressed him, never fussed over his meals. I had only stood up for him once and taken him outside for a few days of fun to help him forget his troubles. Yet in his heart, those small acts had already become very good. I lifted my head to the sky and blinked hard to keep the tears from falling. I realized that no matter who it was, no one could ever replace a mother's place in a child's heart. Thankfully, I wasn't here to replace her. Xiao Li stepped forward to light incense and burn paper money. Little Feng is doing very well. I have also kept every promise I made to you. You can go in peace. I asked Xiao Li why Lady Zhao had not been buried in the Xiao family ancestral tomb. Xiao Li said it was her own request. Her short life had been confined within the Xiao residence. Even in death, she didn't want to lie alone in the Xiao family tomb. I think Lady Zhao must have been a woman with a very strong will. Xiao Li gave a bitter laugh. Our marriage was arranged by our parents. I always assumed she felt the same as I did. That not objecting meant silently accepting this union. Little did he know the rest of the story went unspoken, but it was simply the tale of a woman's heart that had never belonged to him, ruining an entire lifetime. No wonder when our marriage was arranged, Xiao Li had asked me only one question and insisted I answer truthfully. He asked whether there was someone in my heart. I shook my head and said no. He studied my eyes for a long time before finally confirming the marriage with my parents. Xiao Li added that he had once believed that if husband and wife could not become one heart and one body, being a pair of birds in the same forest was still fine. He only needed to ensure that forest remained safe for life. But after Xiaofeng was born, he had no choice to consider the woman's character. She must not be jealous, must not favor the concubine's children over the legitimate heir. Yet for some reason, after marrying his new wife, she did nothing at all, and he felt she didn't care about him. I waved my hands frantically and shook my head. No wonder he had spoken at such length. He had been digging a pit for me right here. Husband, you must believe me. There truly is no one else in my heart. For the rest of my life I will be devoted to you alone. Heaven and earth can bear witness, and my sister-in-law's tombstone can bear witness. Xiao Li had been looking down, but at my words he raised his head. A light flashed in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curved into a smile. Then I heard his voice carrying a hint of laughter. So this is you confessing to me. Clearly I was proving my innocence. Yet I could only grit my teeth, nod once more, and feel a blush creep across my face. Damn it, this Xiao Li is too wicked, wicked beyond compare in the whole world. Haha. Xiao Li laughed, and this time is a pure, uncalculated laugh. For a moment I was stunned. Fine, fine, a confession it is. After all, confessing to one's own husband is nothing to be ashamed of. After sending Xiao Feng off to play elsewhere, Xiao Li spoke softly to the tombstone. Lady Zhao, did you hear that? Your curse did not come true. I have finally found someone who truly treats me well. On the way back to the city, the sky was overcast. Before long, a light drizzle began to fall. I suddenly remembered the verse about good rain knowing the right season, and thought this year would surely be a bountiful one. Looking at the two men, one tall, one short, riding on either side of me like guards, even someone as unpoetic as me quietly added a line in her heart. Good food is never too late. Puffed, puffed. That line had zero poetic charm. It should be something like, great fortune is waving at me, or beautiful days lie ahead. Never mind, I should just enjoy the scenery. After we returned, I decided to add a little more learning to my mind and proactively went to Xiao Feng's study to practice writing large characters. Xiao Feng couldn't stand watching anymore and found me some of the copybooks he had once practiced with. He even lectured me on books. Although I only half understood, he said that in a few days he would go to the library to study, and once he finished he would come back and teach me. In exchange, I promised that when summer came I would teach him how to swim. Spring was full of banquets. My mother used illness as an excuse to stay indoors, so I became the representative of the Xiao residents. The women led by Madame Jiang constantly suppressed me wherever they could, saying I was only a second wife who hadn't even borne a child of my own. In the future I would have no support and would sooner or later be driven out by Xiao Li. I had no idea what they were so smug about. Usually I pretended to be deaf and mute and didn't bother to care. But one day those words reached Xiao Li's ears. He was furious. He summoned the host who had arranged the banquet and asked whether inviting people to a feast was meant to humiliate his wife. Everyone rushed to apologize, but his anger still burned. He called Madame Jiang forward. You are indeed the principal wife, but I hear your husband spends his days lingering in the pleasure houses and keeps an outside mistress in Willow Lane who has already borne him 2 children. I suggest you pay more attention to your own household affairs and speak less about other people's business. Madame Zhang had been ready to argue back, but when she heard that her husband kept an outside mistress and had children, and knowing the Privy Council's information could not be wrong, she immediately stormed off with her people to catch him in the act. In front of everyone, Xiao Li personally helped me to my feet. Madam has suffered outside all because of your husband's fault. Why don't you come home with me? I will definitely bring a thorned whip to beg for punishment. That night Xiao Li got entangled with me without restraint, leaving me utterly exhausted. I fell asleep in his arms, too tired even to open my eyes. Could he please choose a more practical method the next time he wants to apologize? I thought to myself. The next day I woke late. Nanny Zhang brought over a thick bowl of medicinal soup and insisted I drink it. I pinched my nose and tried to run away. Nanny Zhang pleaded earnestly. Young miss, drink it quickly. This medicine is very effective. I frowned. Last time I drank it for half a month and saw no effect at all. I'm not drinking it. This time it's a prescription from Taoist Master Lai. Everyone who has taken it says it works wonders. While the commotion was going on, Xiao Li stepped out from the inner washing chamber. Nanny Zhang jumped in fright, her hands trembling. The bowl of medicine spilled onto my foot and she frantically wiped it up. Xiao Li frowned at the sight. What is this? Nanny Zhang hurriedly hid the bowl behind her back. What did you give her to drink? Xiao Li put on the air of an interrogator. Nanny Zhang immediately dropped to her knees in terror. It's a fertility tonic. Xiao Li had been frowning, but his expression suddenly turned stunned. He turned to look at me. I was rather afraid he would get angry. I knew that before Xiao Feng came of age, he did not want more children. Secretly seeking a pregnancy in the inner residence was a major taboo. I slid off the edge of the bed, ready to kneel. Xiao Li stepped forward, took my arm, and pulled me back to sit. I saw an emotion in his eyes that was hard to read. He said, "The Taoist masters in the city have been prescribing recklessly lately. Many people have suffered stomach pain after taking their medicines. It's best to stop this one." He thought for a moment and added, "There's no rush. For now." I forced a smile. "All right, I'll listen to husband." After Xiao Li left, my heart felt heavy again. I had heard that giving birth too early was bad for both the child and the mother's body. At first I had decided not to have children, but Xiao Li's attitude still left me unhappy. That night, when Xiao Li returned from the Yamen, he brought an imperial physician with him. The physician was skilled in internal medicine and miscellaneous ailments. While he took my pulse, Xiao Li stood beside him, watching tensely. "How is everything?" After finishing the pulse diagnosis, the physician said, "Madam only has a slight cold deficiency." I looked up carefully and saw that Xiao Li's expression had clearly relaxed. The physician prescribed a tonic and instructed me to take it for 2 full months. During those 2 months I grew quieter and quieter. I always felt that Xiao Li's kindness toward me was built on the premise that I would not have children and would devote myself entirely to caring for Xiao Feng. Children are naturally sensitive. Perhaps Xiao Feng sensed my mood, because lately his attitude toward me had become more cautious. One day he asked if I could go to the academy with him, since the parents of the other children all went. Seeing how careful and tentative Xiao Feng was, I suddenly realized my own mood was wrong. I had known about Xiao Feng's existence before I entered the Xiao residence as his stepmother. I had a choice, but he did not. Why was I now starting to resent the original owner of this position? Besides, when I was lonely, he had once kept me company. So I spoke to Xiao Feng with utmost seriousness and told him I could go. That day Xiao Feng was overjoyed. The academy had prepared many competitions and invited the students' parents to watch. Xiao Feng tried his hardest. One event involved children and their parents tying one arm together and shooting arrows from a drawn bow. We took first place. Xiao Feng was so happy he couldn't stop smiling. On the way home, Xiao Feng and I strolled through the night market and ate many snacks. But that evening I vomited until the world spun. Xiao Li summoned Xiao Feng and made him kneel outside the door, saying, "It's all because of him that you ate something unclean." Xiao Feng refused to stay kneeling quietly. He crawled to the window and asked how I was. I called out loudly that it had nothing to do with him. "You ate it too, and you're fine." I must just be sick. I felt weak and had no strength left. While waiting for the doctor, I said I wanted to sleep for a while. Sleepiness hit me like a wave. Xiao Li looked worried, his hands trembling. "Sleep, I'll stay right here watching over you. I'm not going anywhere." I fell asleep peacefully. I had always relied only on myself for everything, yet somehow I had begun to depend on him. As long as he was beside me, I felt completely at ease. When I woke, many people were standing around watching me, so much that I thought I must have contracted some incurable disease. Nanny Zhang pushed through the crowd and rushed in. "Congratulations, you are finally with child." With child what? I reacted slowly, looked down at my belly, then raised my head to look at Xiao Li beside me and Xiao Feng standing outside the crowd. I really have a baby now. Then what would Xiao Li do? That evening Xiao Li personally brought me water to wash my feet and did everything with his own hands, not letting me exert myself at all. The imperial physician said I must rest in bed to nurture the pregnancy. Looking at his unsmiling face, I said, "Actually, I'm still young. It's fine if we don't keep this child." Xiao Li immediately looked up, brows tightly furrowed. "What did you say?" I said we're both still young. Having a child in a few years would be the same. "You don't want children. This is our child." Xiao Li's expression made me feel I had misunderstood him again. I thought Feng is still little. Having a child now wouldn't be fair to him. Besides, didn't you also not want me to have a child at this time? Xiao Li looked at me in utter astonishment and for a moment was speechless. "When did I ever say I didn't want you to have a child?" "Then last time when Nanny Zhang made me drink the fertility tonic and you caught us. You not only stopped me from drinking it, but also brought the imperial physician to take my pulse. Wasn't that because you were afraid I'd get pregnant?" Xiao Li looked up at the sky, laughed from sheer exasperation. "I was afraid you'd take something of unknown origin and harm your body. I found the imperial physician to prescribe medicine for you, so you could be properly nourished and conceive sooner." "Then what about before? Don't tell me I misunderstood you're not wanting children." Xiao Li sighed. "I admit that at first I did have some private thoughts, but for the past half-year I have truly wanted to live this life with you." He sighed again. "Couldn't you tell? Lately I've been returning to the inner courtyard earlier and earlier. When I don't see you I miss you. When I do see you I want you." You and Feng went to the estate and stayed for several days at a time. I stayed home feeling completely off. Food had no taste, tea wasn't sweet. I think I've caught lovesickness, and it's reached the marrow of my bones. Xiao Li gave a self-mocking laugh, and even I found it funny when he said it. "I'm already at this age yet I'm acting like a lovesick youth." He took my hand and placed it over his pounding chest. Wenting, can you feel my heart beating? I couldn't feel it. I only felt my fingertips burning and my ears growing hot. I wanted to pull my hand back, but Xiaoli wouldn't let me. I admit that at the beginning my feelings toward you weren't entirely pure, but now I want to treat you well. We went from acquaintance to understanding to closeness. Can we start over? Then what about the baby? Keep it. It will be the child I look forward to the most. What else could I say? And Feng. Before I could finish, Xiao Feng burst in from outside with a loud cry. Don't stop me. Let me in. Ignoring everyone's attempts to block him, Xiao Feng rushed straight to my bedside. He carried a large bundle on his back and was panting by the time he arrived. I quickly pushed Xiaoli aside, sat up straight, and instinctively covered my still, flat belly as if hiding a guilty secret. If Xiao Feng disagrees, I will move to the estate and never come back for the rest of my life, I thought, already preparing for the worst outcome. But after Xiao Feng caught his breath, he simply dumped the large bundle onto the floor. Out rolled a pile of things. Jade, gold ornaments, decorative pieces, and even the inkstone I had glanced at a few extra times before. What is this? I asked, puzzled. Xiao Feng smiled like he was presenting treasure, revealing a grin that showed the gap between his teeth. Don't you like these things? They're all for you. I only have one request. After you give birth to little brother, can you let me see him a few more times? My face turned red and I smiled shyly. Xiaoli spoke bluntly to Xiao Feng. If you gave her banknotes instead, it would probably be more useful. I quickly reached out and pinched Xiaoli hard on the waist. The days of nurturing the pregnancy were truly boring. Xiaoli sent word to the Wen family, and my mother came to visit me. Mother looked here and touched there. You don't know yet. Your sister-in-law is pregnant too. I asked when it happened. Mother said, half a month earlier than you. The pregnancy isn't stable yet, so we didn't dare announce it. I nodded. Then when you go back, if you can't finish all the tonics here, I'll have someone send a cartload back with you. Mother nodded in agreement. Now you've finally reached the sweet after the bitter. Only your older brother is still struggling, going nowhere without a proper official post. He's looked down on by his wife's family. Didn't he just enter the Ministry of Works for training last year? What kind of good place is the Ministry of Works? Plainly speaking, it's just a brick and tile workshop. I hear the Ministry of Revenue has a lucrative position open. Could you ask your husband to help with that? My heart suddenly felt very uncomfortable. I was pregnant, yet my mother had come to ask for benefits for my sister-in-law and to talk about my brother's position. Oh right, and your father too. He's been stuck in that post for 2 years now. At his age, if he doesn't get promoted soon, he'll have no hope left in this lifetime. I endured and endured. Finally I spoke. Mother, it would be better if father spoke to Xiaoli about this himself. I don't understand much about official positions. I only know that His Majesty has ordered the Privy Council to investigate corruption and bribery strictly, and they've already caught quite a few officials. Mother was not frightened off. Instead, she felt I was not being sincere. Your head really is useless. What good is marrying into a high and powerful family? Fine, I'll have your father host a banquet and invite Xiaolai to the residence. He is his son-in-law. He should at least use his brain a little. I'm leaving. This jade royal scepter of yours isn't bad. Your sister-in-law's room doesn't have one. I'll take it for now. Mother reached for the jade roe beside my pillow, but I was quicker and pressed down on the other end. This jade roe belongs to Xiao Feng. He left it in my room. If he comes asking for it later and I can't find it, it'll be troublesome. Mother should choose something else. Mother was silent for a moment, then turned to my dressing table and took a pair of red coral earrings. These coral earrings aren't bad either. You can't wear them now anyway. I'll take them. From beginning to end, Mother never once asked how my health was, whether I was bearing it well, or if I wanted any of the dishes she cooked. As soon as Mother left, I ordered someone to throw the coral earring chain from the drawer outside. They had originally been a set, now they could never be matched again. This happened to be seen by Xiao Lai. He observed my expression for a while and then apologized. I thought my mother-in-law would comfort you a little and persuade you to eat more. I didn't expect. Never mind. Mother used to treat me very well. It's just that now she likes the unborn grandchild more. A few days later Mother came again, looking pleased, and said that the matters concerning my father and brother had been settled. Xiao Li had agreed to help. I couldn't help frowning. Under normal circumstances, Xiao Li was not the type to mix public and private affairs. 2 months later, the appointments for my brother and father were finalized. One was sent to a local yeoman. Technically a promotion, but far from the center of power in the capital. Xiaoli comforted my brother and father, saying His Majesty remembered the Wen family's loyalty and hoped the two of them could bring blessings to the common people of a region. My brother and father had no choice but to take their entire families and leave the capital. Mother, who had no political foresight, was overjoyed. Before leaving, she came to see me and urged me to take care of my health, saying I must give birth to a son to stand firm and seize the management of the Xiao household as soon as possible. I didn't tell her that a few days earlier the old madam had already handed all household authority over to me. Xiaoli was afraid I would overwork myself, so he even sent one of his own capable aides to help me manage the residence, using a great talent for small matters. Now every decision in the Xiao household was mine to make. After mother left, I breathed a sigh of relief. From now on we would simply exchange letters and each live in peace. No one can stay by another person's side for an entire lifetime. But Xiao Li didn't think that way. He always said he wanted to stay by my side until the end of time, watching the clouds gather and disperse together. The following New Year, I gave birth to a soft, lovely baby girl. 3 years later I gave birth to a son. Xiao Feng became an exemplary older brother to his younger siblings and gradually took on the bearing of an adult. I treated Xiao Feng as my own child, but mostly with sincere friendship, living side by side as equals. Xiao Li and I shared 30 years of deep affection. 30 years later, on a bitterly cold winter day, he fell ill and passed away. On his deathbed he said that in this life there was one promise he had made but could not keep. He could not stay by my side until the end of time. If there was life after death, he would definitely meet me earlier, much earlier, so we could spend one more moment together. After he was gone, I lived on alone in this world for more than 20 years. I watched my children and grandchildren grow up, marry, and have children of their own, but what I loved watching most was still the vast sky and the ever-changing clouds. On the day I left this mortal life, a fine drizzle fell once more, reminding me of 50 years earlier. Xiaoli rode beside the carriage, looking down with a gentle smile. That handsome sight also brought to mind the unfinished verse. Good rain knows the right season. As long as one holds firm to the heart, perhaps happiness will knock at the door sooner or later.